Hi guys, and welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to be looking at the Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced for the inspection industry. We're not going to be going live for another sort of minute and a half. So for just get you to stick something in the chat just so we know that you can see us and that you can hear us as well. That'd be fantastic. We've got a little bit of a surprise today. Mark's actually operating from site, so we're actually going to see the drone in action, and any of the recording and data that he records today we're going to send on to you for further analysis basically. So yeah, bear with us. In the next sort of 30-60 seconds we are going to be going live. Brilliant. So without further ado, thank you very much for joining us. Today it's 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, the 23rd, and today we're going to be doing, well, exploring the Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced, DJI's latest inspection drone, and we're going to be looking at its applications in the industrial industry. Today, I'm very lucky to be joined by Mark Colemen from GeoAccess, who's had some hands-on experience with it over the last couple of weeks. We're going to get good in-depth analysis of how it works, how it operates, the data collected, and essentially what it's used for. So yeah, without going on too long, I'll fire on to our next slides if I can do that. But essentially, my name's George Burne. I'm a UAV strategist here at Coptrz. I work primarily with inspection, with the utilities, with natural power. We do a lot with asset integrity management, inspection, thermography. So the Mavic Enterprise Advanced really fits within what we're looking to do and how we're looking to help our customers around the UK. Obviously been with Coptrz for 4 years. We do sort of a wide range of different products, but DJI is, as you will know, one of the biggest manufacturers in the world. And they put a lot of money into R&D, into creating and developing these fantastic products for us to really benefit from, and obviously to make our lives a little bit safer, a little bit quicker, and a little bit cheaper as well. So saving money is also the big one there. Just so everyone's aware, if anyone's got any questions throughout the webinar, be sure to fire them over to the questions tab. You should have a question tab on your screen that you're seeing. We're all using a new webinar platform today, so bear with if there's any technical difficulties. Hopefully there won't be any. But yeah, it's all going really well so far. So yeah, without further ado, let me introduce you to Mark Colemen. Mark, if you just want to join us on stage, let everybody see and hear you, that'd be brilliant. Mark's currently working on site today. Hi, Mark, can you hear us?
Hi, everyone. Can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, fantastic, mate. Fantastic. Where are you today, Mark?
Sunny Castle Donington.
Beautiful, beautiful. It looks sunny. Wrapped up warm, though, I see.
It's bloody freezing.
The joys. So, Mark, I'll let you sort of describe and explain exactly who you are and what you do, what GeoAccess do as a whole, and yeah, we'll take it from there, really.
Yeah, certainly. So we're an asset inspection company. We specialise in asset inspections, funnily enough, using all sorts of techniques. So not only drones, so we use traditional manned techniques. We use roped access, but drones form a massive part of our business, particularly over the last couple of years. And what we've found is the drones are really helping enhance our services. We've got a whole fleet of UAVs ranging from the mighty Phantom 4 Pro all the way up to the M600. We've got the M210. We've got an Helios. And this little enterprise really has caught our eye. We've never really entertained the thought of an enterprise, a Mavic kind of drone before, but this one, the specs are really, really good. And I've been really, really impressed with what I've seen over the last couple of weeks of testing it. So for us, all about inspections and this little platform, it's going to fit in quite nicely. I think it's going to be really, really good.
Fantastic, Mark. So sort of how we want to run today, we are going to be looking a little bit at the actual specs themselves, sort of dive into a little bit about the equipment and what it can do. But we're luckily enough, you've actually got it on site, haven't you, Mark?
I have, yeah. So what could go wrong? We're going to try and do a live demo, which we'll see. We'll see what happens.
if anything is to go wrong, touch wood, it doesn't. And I don't think it will. But if we can't sort of show you the data live, what we'll do is we'll try our best to show exactly what you're seeing. But anything that we can't see, we'll record and we'll send out to you. So Mark's going to send us all the data, and then we'll send it through via email, or even stick it on our YouTube channel, Mark, and obviously on LinkedIn as well, so you can see exactly what Mark's seeing. But you've obviously been working with Coptrz for a couple of years now. Mm-hmm. But just to sort of give everybody an idea of who Coptrz are, if you've not really heard of us before, we're a full solution provider. So as Mark said, it's not just DJI, but obviously Helios, Parrot, and then it's all the GVC, A2, CAA training here in the UK. And it is just about that support, offering, a solution rather than just a product that can actually do a job and do it well. So, just to highlight a couple of those points, obviously different payloads, all in one place, expert training, and just a bit of a speciality on each of the industries. What we'll cover today, I have gone over it a little bit, but just the basics of the Mavic evolution. Obviously, you can see Mark there holding the Mavic itself. But we'll show you how it's basically evolved over the last couple of years, where it started, and how now the more hobbyist side of the Mavic side, from the likes of the Mavic Pro when that first came out, has now really risen to the challenge of that enterprise section. Obviously, critical features, data quality, the safety side of the drone, and also the security, which is a big part of this new drone coming out. How you will be able to utilize it, and I'm sure Mark will be able to go into a little bit of detail about how they've been using it in some of their jobs recently, and how to configure the enterprise, because previous models have had different attachment, different parts, which really push the capabilities of the drone. We've now got a new section with the RTK module, which will give it an even better selling point. So we'll all go into detail on that. We will be doing a live demo, so hold your horses on that. We're going to go through a little bit more information on that, and hopefully everything goes well. And then we will be talking about, obviously how much it costs, because that's also a big thing for the new drones coming out at the moment. And then finally with a Q&A right at the end. There is questions on the right, so fire them all in there, and at the end we'll just try and go through them as best we can. So I don't know if you ever had the original Mavic Pro, did you, Mark? Or where did you start? Did you start with the Phantoms? Yeah,
so we started on the Phantom. So we've never really entertained the Mavic series at all. It's never really caught our eye as a tool used for our kind of sector. But this has really changed, and this is my first introduction to the Mavics.
Yeah, absolutely. So I remember when the Mavic Pro first came out, and it was sort of like the big new thing. Obviously, the stability was amazing. Camera quality at the time was really good. And as we see sort of the DJI's progression, the Mavic sort of stayed on that photography hobbyist side, we like to say, of taking nice photos, doing nice videos. But they also had the application, because it's got a good camera, to take it down the industrial side, where we saw the Enterprise Dual with the dual camera. Now, with the resolution of the thermal camera, the new Enterprise is actually 17 times stronger on the thermal side. So That means you can fly a lot higher and get a lot better data. It means you can fly at the same height but get incredibly high quality of detail. Mark will be able to show you this later on. And Mark, any comments on that so far?
Really, yeah. So the thermal cameras, really what's caught our eye on this particular platform. It really is on par with our XT2. It's pretty much the same sensor. There's a few little differences in the settings and some of the things you can do with the data, but the quality and the resolution is right up there. It is really lifted the game of the Mavics with that thermal camera now.
Absolutely. And one of the big things about the Mavics was it was compact, it was easy to use, you could get it out and you could fly straight away. And that was between the Phantom side of the industry and the Mavic side, that was the good selling point with the Mavic. You know, you still had 30 minutes of flight time, still had these collision avoidance sensors. It was still a very stable platform, which you had a lot of faith in. And I've got a lot of faith in the Mavic side because it's always been a platform we've used, we've sold, and we've had a lot of success with. Combine that with a really high quality, both visual and zoom sensor. It's starting to look, there's obviously going to be a couple of like stock points, but it's starting to look like a really good platform. So, moving on, we'll talk about the sort of the system overview. I mean, real life sort of applications. You know, it's a real drone built for two sectors. You've got that industrial inspection side, and then you've got the public safety side as well. So search and rescue is obviously going to have its great benefits for, you know, finding heat signatures from a long distance and be able to locate them to a specific point. But also on the thermal side is a quick drone to get out, get in the air and do a thermal survey. Tried and tested, obviously the Mavics, it's actually built on the original Mavic system, just an upgraded sensor with different software inside. So the same way it works, operates under the same pilot application for anybody who's used the Mavic Enterprise in the past, the dual version. And now you've got the smart controller as well. How are you finding it with the smart controller, Mark?
Yeah, I quite like it, to be fair. It's nice and compact. The brightness on the screen is really, really good. We've used this in quite a lot of, believe it or not, some bright sunny days over the last couple of weeks, and you don't have any problem seeing the screen. It is a really, really good controller. Yeah, like it. Runtime, we've had it out all day. Ample battery life, really good screen, really easy to use, not too heavy. Yeah, great controller. It's really good. It's quite welcome, actually. Quite nice to have a nice compact all-in-one controller for this.
What's because one of the things when I first looked at it was maybe the screen size was maybe a little bit smaller. How are you finding that identifying things? Or
all right, to be fair, because the screen's so bright, and forgive me, I don't know what the resolution of the actual screen is, but it's very crisp and very sharp. So even though it's a small screen, very easily you can see the information. Even when one of the features I go on in a bit is you can split screens, so you can have half the screen visual, half the screen thermal. So even when it's small, makes the images smaller still. Yeah, you can see more than enough detail to do what you need to do.
Brilliant. What I'm going to try to do now is, that's a little bit better for when we do the live demo. I'm just going to make that large now. Obviously on a sort of the application, because you've used the Matrice, you used the Phantom. How are you finding the actual controller and like the application setup compared to those? I mean, DJI historically for me has been a bit like Apple.
Yeah, exactly.
So easy to use.
Yeah, so other than our Helios, which is kind of built on a DJI kind of control system anyway, all of our fleet is DJI, and the reason why we did that was because if you can fly a Mavic, you can fly the M600. The controller, the sticks, the software, it's all exactly the same. And when you've got pilots going from platform to platform, it's much easier if you've got them all on the same one. So flying this to me is no different to flying any of our other DJI drones. It's so easy to fly, really, really nice. Even my maybe I shouldn't tell you this, George, but even my 8-year-old son can fly the Mavic.
Brilliant. I know, it's great feedback. I probably won't tell my operations manager you can let me do that, but we'll let that slide. Going on to the data quality, obviously with the visual, it's not just the increase in the thermal camera, but it's basically built upon the dual. So now it's still got that 12 megapixel sensor, but essentially what you've got is you've got that zoom element as well. And before we confuse anybody, because we had this conversation, didn't we, Mark, about the 48 megapixel. So DJI, what they've done is they've released a bit like the Mavic Airs when they first came out, and what they're doing at the moment is they've got a 12 megapixel sensor, but what they'll do is they'll take 4 simultaneous photos and then stitch them together, so you get the effective 48 megapixel photo. Now for the industrial sector, for search and rescue, that doesn't work because you don't have time to be doing that. You want to get a single image quickly. But with the 12 megapixel sensor, you also have that zoom element. So instead of going back to the office and identifying and zooming in post-process, you can do that on site. How are you finding the zoom element of it, Mark?
Yeah, really good. So the 4 times lossless zoom really is lossless zoom. It's just equivalent of having an optical zoom camera. So you do get really good zoom up to the 4 times. The quality does drop quite quickly then when you start going into the digital zoom range because it's only a 12 megapixel sensor. But yeah, this is for me, this is the kind of platform. The beauty with the Mavic is it's a small platform that you can get a lot closer to subject anyway. So by getting closer and using that 4 times lossless zoom is really good. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the lossless zoom is basically optical. So I mean, we've been really impressed. And if anyone's seen the Mavic Enterprise Zoom when that first came out, I think that was 2 times. So it's basically doubling that, which is great. But then yeah, obviously you do have that increased zoom, which is great. And onto the thermal side, because this is the real showstopper. This is what the drone's been brought out to sort of to show. And what DJI, it was quite clever how they started creating their own thermal cameras, and through doing that, they've been able to make them a little bit smaller, a bit more compact, and essentially cheaper for the market. Is that not right?
Yeah, definitely.
So we've got obviously the 640 times the 512. That's the Mavic Dual, the Mavic Enterprise that you've got there with you, the advanced, and that's comparing to the 160 by 120 that you had on the Dual. Now 17 times the thermal resolution. So I mean, if you're going up against somebody with a Dual, potentially tendering for work or potentially doing work, and you're presenting that data, it's a no-brainer who's going to come out on top. The thermal, Mark, have you got something you can show us now? Have you got something you can just stick on the screen?
I can't share my screen, unfortunately. So I'll fire the Mavic up in a minute, and I'll get the controller working, and we'll show it on the screen in a moment and show you some of the resolution if you want. Try it live. Let's see what happens.
Brilliant. So we'll save that for the demonstration. But essentially, how do they pair up? What do you see on your screen in terms of visual or thermal or both together? What do you see?
Yeah, so pretty good. So with regard, so first of all, with regards to the thermal resolution, I think someone just asked a question there about the field of view. So we've got the XT2 with a 19mm lens on it, which we use on the M210. The field of view on the Mavic Advance is quite a lot wider than the XT2 with a 19mm. But not horrendously so. You still get some very good results from a good distance away. So the actual field of view, I'm not quite sure. What you actually see on the screen is brilliant. So one thing I do like with the Mavic, I'll fire it up in a moment, but on the screen, you can toggle between a full thermal view of the whole screen, or you can have a full visual view, or it will split it in half, and you can actually see the same image. You can see the thermal image and the visual image side by side. And then when you take the photos, when you take a photo of that subject, it actually captures 3 photographs for you. So it will capture the visual image simultaneously, the thermal image simultaneously, and the side-by-side image simultaneously as well. So for inspections, when you want to do analysis and some comparisons, it's brilliant. You've got all that data captured with one click of the button. It's really, really, really good.
Fantastic. No, that's brilliant. That's because the original Dual, you weren't able to do that. You were able to either have thermal or visual or overlap them.
Okay.
Which sort of made up for the lack of quality of the thermal sensor. But obviously, if you can have them side by side, that's brilliant. So you can see exactly what you're looking at, pick out the detail, and assess the thermal temperature. So we'll move on to data quality. So the display, obviously, you mentioned about it being high brightness, and obviously that dual vision option as well. So we're sort of getting a little bit ahead of ourselves at the moment. But just ease of use. I mean, when you're in the air flying, how easy is it to swap around? How easy to see everything?
Yeah, really easy. So for those different modes on the screen, it's literally just a finger click. So you literally just tap on the screen exactly what you want. It changes it. You can change the color palette. You can zoom in, zoom out, change between visual, infrared, split screen. It's just a couple of clicks of the fingers, which is really, really good. And that's kind of what's brought our attention to the Mavic for the work we do. So we do a lot of inspection work, particularly transmission towers for utility providers. And our big drones, they're great if you can get your truck the way you want to work. But if you need to hike somewhere or walk somewhere, you want something that's light and compact. And the Mavic, it folds down really, really small. It's very, very light, very compact, very easy to transport somewhere where you can't get a vehicle. You can walk somewhere very easily, and you can get it up in the air in about 30 seconds. It is so quick to deploy. It's really, really good, which is that's kind of what's brought us more towards looking at these now.
Brilliant. And obviously with the RTK module that we see here, a bit of a top hat, as it turns out. The basically an RTK module to allow the drone to get precision measurements from the drone. So the actual accuracy is increased of the positioning of the drone. Not so much the camera that you would get with the Matrice 300 RTK or the Phantom 4 RTK. But what this will mean is you've got precision accuracy of the drone. So if you're doing an inspection, like you say, and you're looking at a single point and you zoom in, you'll be able to record that exact point up to, I think it's about 50 mil. And then you can record that as one of the smart inspections. So every time you want to come back to that point, so if you're doing change over time, it'll record that. And it's not working on GPS anymore. It's working on the RTK system in the correction service that's linked to the UK. So you can fly back to that exact same point and capture the exact same picture you're looking at. So just an increase in accuracy, but also it works for working around large metallic structures. Have you ever had any sort of interference, anything where this would really benefit you?
Yeah, so not with the Mavic, because we haven't got the RTK hat with this particular demo version, but the stuff we do generally, we fly up close to lots of metallic structures. So the 210 drone we've got, that's RTK, and that helps us loads on those inspections. It really does help with interference. It's kind of why we bought the RTK module, not so much for the positioning accuracy for us. It's more of that interference of the metallic structures, which is that's our big one for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just as a sort of a safety standpoint, making sure that your drone's going to be secure and where it is, that you can then take over the cameras and focus on actually collecting the data, because a tiny part of flying drones is the actual flying. It's the capturing of data. So you can maintain a strong signal, a bit of peace of mind, because pilot stress when you're working around these large objects can be quite high, I imagine, on some of these big jobs. So maintaining that safety is paramount.
Yeah, definitely.
Good stuff. Just quickly on the safety side as well. I know just mentioned it briefly. Obviously, collision avoidance up to 40 meters. So you got the avoidance sensors around the drone. You got that 10 kilometers worth of range. So as well as having the increased accuracy of the RTK module, you've got the actual controller to drone, the connection, fly up to 10 kilometers. Now, we're not saying go out there and stick it over the moors and see how far you can fly. It's purely just a way of increasing the strength, so you can work around these structures and not have as much interference. Obviously, we've mentioned the RTK module, and then obviously the air sense features as well. Now you've got that on the 210, haven't you, Mark?
Yeah. So it has. Yeah. So this has got the same. So really good. It notifies you if there's aircraft in the vicinity. Really good. Really nice little feature to have.
Yeah, I've not come across anybody where it's been of actual vital use, but
no, it's usually about 4 miles above you.
In the event that you ever are in an area where you do know that there's frequent flights or there is planes going over, it's a useful thing to have, and it's just one of those extra things that DJI are doing to increase their safety, basically.
Yeah,
Um,
it's quite nice just on the sensors on the Mavic. I don't know, forgive me, because I don't know if the previous Mavics had it, but this has got it's got 6 direction sensing, hasn't it? Which is great. So it literally picks up obstacle avoidance in all directions. Now the two sideways sensors only work in tripod mode, so you have to be in the tripod mode, which slows everything down. But once you're in that tripod mode, it literally has got sensors in all directions, which is really really nice.
just on tripod mode now. What were you using that for? Or were you just testing out? How are you using that?
Yeah, just testing out really. So generally, when we do inspections, particularly when we use some of the other platforms, tripod mode is just quite nice because it just slows everything down. So if you want to get up close to something and you want to just go nice and slow and steady, it just helps you become a lot more smoother. We don't particularly make many films, and that's not really the side of drones that we use. But I know a lot of people that do a lot of filming work use tripod mode because it just steadies everything down and makes it nice and slick.
Yeah, absolutely. On the films, I know that tripod modes for more the asset inspection. It just gives people the peace of mind that they can go forward and it will stay at a really slow pace. That you'll be able to capture really good video.
Yeah.
And that's essentially why it's been brought, which is terrific.
And what's really nice with the Mavic, I mean, so with the Phantom 4, it's a bit more tricky to go into tripod mode. You have to go into the smart controller settings and change it. It's a few clicks away. I don't know if it's on the other Mavics, but on this particular one with the smart controller, it's just a toggle switch on the button. Tripod mode is over on the left on T. If you want to go full power, you just flick it back to P or S. Straight away, it comes out of tripod mode, and you've got full use of everything. So if you want to get out of a sticky situation, it's just a slide of a switch, one position, and you're out of tripod mode and back into full flight again.
Brilliant. Good stuff. Ease of use for the future.
Very easy, yeah, very easy to use.
Just quickly on the security side, obviously Sam did his webinar this morning on sort of the use in the public safety side of things. Password protected onboard data storage, so nobody can access your information. We've got a discrete mode, which will offer more information on. And then obviously the encryption service as well for that data link between the drone and the controller. Now, the drone is going to come out with the standard things that the Dual came out with. So the speaker, the spotlight, and the speaker, the spotlight, and the beacon. So what it will be able to do is when you're working in areas that, there's potentially cranes or overhead features, you'll be able to stick that beacon on and you'll still have, coverage from above that people know you're there. As well as having the likes of the spotlight for industrial inspection. When you're flying around in maybe a darker area, you want to get a bit more illumination in certain parts. It's just an added extra to what comes in the setup, basically.
I think, George, am I right in thinking that same feature set? So, and again, forgive me because I've not had a Mavic before, but they just screw on the top basically. So there's a USB-C port and 2 thumb screws where those different attachments screw in, and that's exactly the same with the RTK module, isn't it? The RTK module just literally slots into the USB-C module, 2 thumb screws, and it's on. So it's very quick to transfer those other accessories across from platform to platform. Yeah,
absolutely. So there's a little panel that you just click off. Screw them in, screw them out when you finished, and essentially this is what's available on that part. So you got the RTK module which spoke about, spotlight, the speaker, and the beacon. I know for a lot of applications, maybe the speaker isn't going to be of huge interest, but it is good fun when you leave it on in the office and you can frighten somebody. I'll tell you that. Now, Mark, when it comes to using the spotlight or something with lights on it, is that something that you can see yourself using?
Yeah, so I've not really tested the spotlight capability of the Mavic, so I don't know what sort of brightness it is, but quite often we use additional lighting for our inspections. Be it we've got some like a Lume Cube setup we use on some of our other platforms. The Helios has obviously got the lights built in, so it's definitely a feature to explore. Like I say, I'm not quite sure what the brightness is of the spotlight. I can't remember what the spec was.
Yeah, we'll bring that up at the end. But Mark, do you want to go ahead and fire the drone up now? I think we've got a lot of people looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to it myself. So let's get it all fired up, and we'll get some visuals on it.
Give me a couple of seconds, then we put it on the launch pad.
Yeah, no problem. So while Mark's getting ready, we're going to do obviously a demonstration now. Show you exactly what it takes to get set up. I imagine it's not going to take Mark long to set up the Mavic. But following that, we're going to go through a bit on the pricing of the drones, and then try and answer as many questions as possible. I mean, in terms of usability, we had planned to live stream it, exactly what the screen was seeing, but we've had a bit of a technical difficulty being out in the field. But no drama, we're going to have Mark showing exactly what you see on the screen, and hopefully. Brilliant. Let me make you a little bit bigger. Yeah, we can see you, Mark.
Let me come this way a little bit. There we go. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, can see that. Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. Literally all I've done there while you're talking.
We've slightly lost your vocals, Mark.
Oh, what about now?
Yeah, that's better.
There we go. Yeah, I must be interference with this, I reckon, on my dongle. So what I've done while you were talking there is I've put the Mavic out, I've turned it on, I've turned the smart controller on, and it's fired up already. So it runs the pilot app. So once the smart controller on, you just enter GeoPilot.
Yeah.
Give it a second to link together. There we go. And then pilot is changed. So you've got mission flight or manual flight. So we'll go on the manual flight mode.
Brilliant.
Just updated the home point. That's good. Compass.
Home point, for anybody who's not aware of return to home, what does that mean?
So it's just it's a really good feature. So if the remote controller loses contact with the drone or vice versa, or if there's a malfunction of any sort, or the battery gets critically low, the drone will stop. It will go to the altitude that you set for return to home, and it will come back and land where it's taken off. So yeah, really important when you set the drones up. Really important that when you turn it on, it's in the position where you want it to take off from. If it isn't, then you can manually reset the return to home point before you actually take off in the air. Otherwise, you'll end up landing in someone's garden or somewhere else.
Brilliant.
But then yeah, once we're on, we're on at the screen. You've got visual feed.
Sorry, Mark, it's starting to lose you a little bit. I think it's maybe if you talk into the screen, it was a little bit better when you did that.
What about now? Is that any better?
Perfect.
There you go. Yeah, so to toggle between the two, you've got buttons on the side. You've got visual, so that's visual feed. You've got the IR button, so that's full IR feed, and you've got split button. So that's splitting the screen. You've got
brilliant.
You got visual on my right. I don't know if that's your right or your left, and then thermal on the other side. If you go back to the IR, you've got a little palette button up the side here, so you can change all your different color palettes for the thermal. You got white spot, black spot, the rainbows, the iron red. They're all there to choose. You got FFC, so your field correction, so you can manually force the thermal camera just by hitting the FCC button. That's really, I mean, that's how easy it is to use. You know, all of those functions are there. So, like we were saying earlier, if you want to flick between the different settings, you know, visual feed, infrared feed, split feed, it's just click of a button. It's all there. Once you're in the infrared, it is radiometric sensor, so you can click anywhere on the screen, and it'll give you a temperature reading, plus or minus 2 degrees. What I haven't done yet, which is hoping to do before I send this back to you, George, is to run a comparison alongside our XT2 on the thermal readings, just to see the thermal readings of an object this records. Is it the same as what the XT2 does? I'm expecting it to be the same, plus or minus 2 degrees, because it shouldn't differ any different. You can do spot temperatures, and you can also do an average temperature of an area as well. And then you've got, what else have we got? I can show you. Zoom. So if you want to zoom in on the thermal, you just zoom in on the side. So that's 4 times. Come back out. Go back to the visual. You can zoom in on the visual feed. So that's 2 times. So that's 4 times. So that's the lossless zoom there. So we're on 4 times lossless zoom, which is fantastic. And then as soon as you start jumping up, it jumps into a little bit more graininess on the digital zoom. But that really is that's how easy it is to control. All the settings are there. It's such a fantastic layout. Probably my only slight criticism when I first got it was that in visual mode, so the visual sensor, everything's auto. So you've got no manual control of ISO or shutter speed. It's all set for you automatically.
Yeah.
But actually, what I found is actually that doesn't really matter, because the dynamic range and the settings on that sensor are actually pretty good. And
Yeah.
I haven't, if you're going to use it for inspections, you don't really need to change the settings manually. Just let the camera do the work for you, and it just really helps and takes one more thing off the shoulders. So I was worried about the fact that you had no manual control, but actually not really an issue if you're going to use it for inspections, I don't believe. So that's the controller. Should we see if we can take off and get some aerial shots and see what it looks like?
Yeah, that'd be brilliant, Mark. If you can set it to record straight away, we'll take the whole recording of you flying over the next 5 or however long minutes you're going to do it, and then we'll be able to post that and show people exactly the quality. Because at the end of the day, we're showing people the quality of the camera, so showing that the full capabilities is brilliant. But
so that's a good point, actually. So it's got it's 24 gigs of onboard memory, isn't it? So it can record up to 24 gigs of data on board the drone without any SIM cards. And then you got the SIM, you got it's not SIM cards, SD cards. Sorry, you got the SD card support then on top. So we're just gonna. I don't know if you can see the screen there. I'm not in a very good spot. I need to keep eyes on while I'm flying. So can you see that screen, or is that a bit blurry?
Yeah, you concentrate on safety rather than trying to get it on our screen, Mark. So the data you've taken from the drone, have you put it onto your computer yet at all?
Yes, I've got it on the computer, but I can't share my screen, unfortunately. So what I'll do is I'll send that across to you, George, and then you can share that with everybody afterwards if you want.
Yeah, no, brilliant. So what I was getting at is, how was the data transferred? How was it? So just SD card in your computer?
SD card and computer, or because when I recorded it onto the onboard storage. So I just literally plugged it in via a cable, and it went straight onto the computer. It treats the Mavic as pretty much as an external hard drive, so you can just drag and drop your files straight into your Windows platforms.
Fantastic. And it's JPEG that the photos are recorded, is that right?
Yeah, JPEG, and then the thermal is radiometric JPEG, radiometric video. Sorry, no, it's not radiometric video. Yeah, so it's non-radiometric video file for the thermal, but fully radiometric JPEGs.
Brilliant.
So that's the split screen. So that's just looking back at us there. So I've got it on the rainbow palette. So it's split screen. Again, you can zoom in. When you zoom, it zooms both together, which is a really nice feature. So it's almost like the dual camera setup on the 210, when you can lock them looking at the same object. So if I pan up and down, it's panning both cameras simultaneously, looking at the same object.
Yeah.
Zooming in, zooming out, which is quite nice. Go back to just the full thermal feed.
Mark, just pull it towards the camera a little bit.
Sorry, how's that?
Yeah, no, that's brilliant.
There we go. So that's the full. Get my fingers out of the way a minute. So that's the full thermal feed. That's the split screen.
Brilliant.
That's split view. Like I said there, if you zoom in, it zooms both cameras at the same time, which is really nice.
Is that you on the back of your car?
That is, yeah. That's looking back towards me.
How far are you away from the drone at the moment?
So that's about that's 15 feet up in the air and 25 feet laterally away from me.
Brilliant.
Not feet, sorry, meters.
Yeah. Mark, on the carry case that you got with the drone, what's that like?
So really good. Yeah, it's a bit like a GPC flight case, pretty much, that comes with it. Is that standard, George? How that came?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, really impressive. Then, really impressive carry case. Nice and solid, nice and robust. Everywhere's got a place. All those attachments that you mentioned, the charging cables, it's all nicely tucked away, and there's room in there for a bit more. So the RTK module would fit in there. There's room for one battery to be stored on the Mavic, and there's 3 battery slots, so you can have 4 batteries in that case with no modification at all. You could even get your lunch in there. I reckon there's enough room. It's really good box, really good. I guess a really good enhancement, which if DJI did it, would be really nice. Like say for us, this is a really good drone for us to put in a bag and walk for like 4 or 5 miles to get to our structures to inspect. So if there was like a gimbal lock, gimbal protection that DJI could bring out, that would be fantastic, because you could just put that cap over that camera and that gimbal, and it'll be really protected to just be folded up and put in your bag and taken anywhere.
So I think that is something. Obviously, this is the demo unit. I think that's something that's going to be released with the ready to go equipment.
Yeah, brilliant.
What you also can get is the Fly More pack, which is basically a carry case, which we showed on the previous screen, where you get your extra batteries, but that's more of like a camera case. So as you say, if you are going to be hiking, a couple of kilometers up a mountain, it's sometimes quite difficult to take a bit of a heavy duty case. So stick it inside your camera bag and go in, lightweight, really useful.
Yeah, really good.
So
for us, that sort of distance that we are there, that's probably twice the distance that we would normally be when we're doing a thermal inspection or something. So if I could bring that down to the sort of distance that we would typically be, and just show you what sort of the resolution and what you can see on the screen. And like I say, comparing to how the XT2 is, I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, we can see that.
So the resolution, that's probably what's that? That's 15 meters up in the air and about 20 meters laterally away from us.
Yeah,
and that's just brilliant. It's just really, really nice, crisp, really nice thermal image. Like I say, you click on it and you get your spot temperatures. You can do your average temperatures. You can change your palette. The zoom function, I'm not so convinced on the zoom function on the thermal side of it. It's a nice to have, but it's not really something that I would personally use. I'd rather get closer than use that zoom function. But the zoom function on the visible, yeah, really good. 4 times lossless zoom.
Brilliant. That's where you have the tripod mode that you can go slowly towards where you're going to be looking. So
totally.
Your thermal side, that you're safe on that. Just on the radiometric side, Mark. Obviously, we've got a couple of questions about what radiometric means, what that obviously offers. It's literally every pixel that you've got on your screen is stamped with a heat temperature. Now, obviously, it's going to be useful. How do you find that useful in your line of work, Mark?
Yeah, really good. So for me, I wouldn't consider a non-radiometric thermal sensor. For the stuff we do, it's just not really going to give us any data. So that radiometric value, like I say, every single pixel has a temperature range, which you can then look at. We've just got an ABSD warning come up. Another aircraft is nearby. There isn't. It's miles away, but it's just nice to have those warnings come up, which is good. So the radiometric, really, really nice function. You can tap on the screen and get your temperature readings, but then it's that post analysis. So once you've got that JPEG, that radiometric JPEG, you can load it into a software package and really explore that data and really look at the thermal properties and look at different values. I don't believe. So I've not looked at it in detail. I don't believe it's not a FLIR chip, is it, in here, George? It's a non-FLIR chip. All of the literature online says that it's not compatible with FLIR tools. However, I have heard that you can use it with FLIR tools, given a little tweak. So I'm pretty sure the data can be loaded into FLIR tools for analysis as well. It's just not as straightforward as a FLIR chip, but it can be done. It's something I'm going to try and explore later on tonight, maybe, with this data, and see if I can load it in and do some tweaking with FLIR tools, which would be quite nice.
Yeah, brilliant.
I did put the last lot of data I took with it through a batch converter, so just change some of the values, and some of the common batch converters you can get. It works. It works in there absolutely fine. So you can batch change all of your thermal ranges on a lot of stuff. That can be done with this data still.
So DJI have actually developed a software called DJI Thermal Analysis Tools. So it's basically a carbon copy of FLIR tools. So that's how you would analyze your thermal viewings from the likes of the H20T or the new Mavic Enterprise Advanced. So it's basically the DJI equivalent of FLIR tools.
Excellent. I've not really had much experience with it, so I must try that and compare that and see how that compares with FLIR tools. But I reckon it would stand up to the test. I reckon it'll be okay.
What's the weather like with you at the moment? Is it windy? How's it fare in a bit more adverse conditions?
Sorry, George, say that again. I was just distracted there by something flying.
So weather conditions, is it windy with you? How have you found it flying in?
No, it's not too bad actually. So we've got a sustained wind speed of 14 miles an hour here at the moment, and it's gusting up to kind of 17, 18 miles an hour, and it doesn't really know it's in the air. It's flying absolutely fine. It doesn't really seem to be affected much at all.
Brilliant. Good stuff. It flies well then is sort of what I'm getting from that.
Really good. Sorry, I'm not very good at multitasking here. It flies really well. I mean, this is the beauty of really what we like about the DJI stuff is it is so easy to fly. And if you can fly one platform, you can fly the rest of them. There's not a lot of difference between all the different platforms and the sticks and how they maneuver. The Mavic, being a smaller drone, can be a little bit more twitchy on the sticks if you're quite aggressive with the sticks going left and right. It reacts quite quickly. Not necessarily a bad thing, but certainly the bigger drones tend to react a bit more slower. But characteristic wise, it's a joy. Really smooth. It's really quite nice to fly.
Fantastic. So, Mark, do you want to bring her down? I know you're enjoying yourself, but we'll try and get as many questions answered as we can. I did fire it through to you just to confirm on some of them. So,
give me a second.
Is DJI thermal analysis tools. There's wind speed, I think it's about 10 meters per second is it standard, but obviously as Mark says, it's flying in a lot worse than that at the moment. There's no official IP rating on the drone, but still a sturdy bit of kit. Radiometric with address, obviously each pixel is characteristic with a different thermal temperature. And then obviously how the data is recorded. Someone asked, is it recorded in RAW? It's JPEG, isn't it?
It is JPEG, yeah. So certainly, I mean, one of the things quite a few people have asked me thoughts and feelings on this platform for doing kind of topographical surveys, and I'll probably say it's not the best platform of choice for doing topo surveys. So I think there's better platforms out there. The Phantom 4 RTK being probably one of the best choices for doing topo work.
Yeah.
You got much more control over the data. You got the mechanical shutter on that. This is very much geared towards, like you said at the beginning, George. It's very much geared towards inspections and that search and rescue. It's more geared that way.
Brilliant. So, a question on do you need specific training for the RTK? So the RTK module, all you actually need is the RTK module and then an RTK license. So a SIM card to go in the bottom of your controller. In the dongle to act as a correction service. We do those for the survey side. So instead of using like a base station, you can use the RTK correction service. So that's all you need to get that up and running.
Yeah, is that that's N-Trip, isn't it? It uses the N-Trip system, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it uses the systems around the UK, around Europe actually. So it's got really good coverage. Can send you a little bit more on that. Obviously, we mentioned the hard case. Have you got that to show at all?
Yeah, it's here.
On camera, we'll get a good look at that.
So let me pull the screen a bit. This is the case it comes in, which is pretty much the full-on hard case. It's got the nice air vent valve for taking on airplanes to equalise the pressure. And inside, that's kind of how it came. So the Mavic sits in this little component here, secured in with a bit of foam. Smart controller in the side. Got 2 spare batteries, 1 more battery, 1 on the drone. These are the 3 accessories that it comes with, and then quite clever underneath these accessories is where the charging cables sit. I don't know if I can get it out one hand. There we go. So all the charging cable sits in that little cubby hole under there. It's quite nice. I feel like a game show host.
The price is right. Now everyone's got to guess the price before I start. So smart controller, is it a thumbs up from you?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I was a bit apprehensive, I must say, about the smart controller. Like you said earlier about the small screen, but really don't really find it an issue because of the brightness and how crisp and sharp it is. I noticed one of the comments on there, one of the questions about the runtime. I can't really comment on previous versions. I don't know if this is a new version or the same, but I found the battery life on the smart controller to be absolutely brilliant, been absolutely fine. As long as you've got the brightness down a little bit, it will almost go all day. I think if you've got everything cranked right up, then probably 5 or 6 hours before you have to charge it up, but it doesn't take very long. Charge up, it's just a USB-C at the bottom. So we tend, whenever we go anywhere, we tend to have mobile battery packs all over the place. So you can just plug one into a mobile battery pack while you're having a sandwich or a brew. It gives it a bit more juice, and off you go again.
Brilliant. Have you charged it today? How long have you got out of it so far?
Sorry, for the controller or for the Mavic?
The controller.
So I think the most we had on and off. So we've not had a whole day out in one go, but on and off, we probably had 6 and a bit hours without charging it up.
Brilliant. Yeah, 6 hours.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Yeah, great. That's really good. So
and with the Mavic as well, I don't know what the book time is, but we're finding taking photographs, taking videos, flicking between the settings, 29, 30 minutes kind of flight time is what we're getting out of the batteries on that, which is really good, really impressive.
Fantastic. So keep questions coming in. We'll have another little question bit at the end, but really, yeah, we're coming towards the end of the live show, I guess. So we'll finish off with a couple of the slides, because I know a lot of people obviously interested in the price of the drone, but we do sort of an all-in, so you get the extra batteries and you even get a little bit of training on the thermography side, and it's coming up, well, $5,000 is for the full system. And I know I'm obviously mentioned this with you as well, Mark. What in terms of cost, what were you expecting the drone to cost? Are you surprised by the price?
Yeah, I was actually. So I only found out the price, was it yesterday or the day before, from yourself, didn't I, when I asked the question? And in my head, I thought it was going to be almost double what you told me it was going to be. So I was very surprised at the cost. I think it's, for the technology you get and what it's capable of, I think it's really good value for money. And I think we're going to be putting an order in with you very soon.
Good man. Well, yeah, if anybody is keen on, even just having a look at, the different setups we do or different packages, including training, if you're looking to get up and running with the GVC or even the A2 CSC, get in touch. Got a good team of guys here who'll be able to help you. And so, yeah, as I say, repair centre in the UK, 24 months warranty on all that kit, and then servicing every 6 months. So if you ever do have any issues, just get in touch with us. Availability is a good question. We have got a huge shipment coming in start of April. So yeah, anytime soon really. And we should be sort of delivering all the pre-orders we've been taking since before Christmas over the next couple of weeks, which is brilliant. But no, I think if we've got any more questions, fire them through. As I say, we're going to send out a bit of a thank you email for joining us with a video that Mark's going to be able to present to us, just with a bit of content on how it looks. If we do have any questions, obviously send them through to Mark. Mark's email and contact details will be on there. If you want to work or collaborate with Mark in any way, feel free to either contact Coptrz and we'll put you in contact, or go straight to Mark. That'd be brilliant. But no, Mark, I really appreciate you joining me today. It's been really insightful. It's a little bit different to what we usually do, and I think it's really worked. Would have been brilliant if we could have seen exactly what you had.
It would have been nice, wouldn't it? It would have been nice. Actually,
managed.
Just looking at one of the questions, George, on that one, I'm just flicking through the questions on here. Somebody's asked, can the controller be connected to DJI goggles wirelessly or over an HDMI cable? It has got HDMI output, and that was how we were going to do it. So if I could have shared my screen, I was going to HDMI cable from the controller to the computer and share the screen. So I'm guessing it can be connected to the goggles. I'm not entirely sure, but it can certainly be connected by the HDMI cable to other tablet devices.
Yeah, definitely. So using that HDMI, you can literally put it into anything from the TV to your laptop to even goggles. So yeah, no, it's been a pleasure, Mark. Hopefully we'll get some good footage and we'll put that all together. And we're really impressed with it. I know you are, and hopefully we'll be able to show everybody some really good footage. But any last words?
I think we've said it all. I think I say previously never considered the Mavic series, but this has really changed our mind. And it's not going to replace any of our drones, but I can see it slotting into our fleet and really complementing what we've already got.
Fantastic. And yeah, just to confirm, all available through Coptrz, both training and equipment. But thank you very much for joining us, everybody. It's been a pleasure, as always, been joined by Mark. Yeah, be sure to go on our website and have a look at the different things we offer. And yeah, let's stay in touch.
Cheers all. Have a good day.
Cheers, Mark. Have a great one, mate. Stay safe.